Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you can see me back here. A couple things I didn't mention in the last drum video. One is I'm going to show you how I tune the drums really quickly. It might help someone out there. And secondly, I forgot to say that I use effects on these drum recordings. And I also don't use effects on some of the mics. Let me go over that really quickly. If you turn on your machine, wait till it comes up here. It always takes a second. I'm on version 1.13. Okay, and I've got the 4 tracks armed, and I've got my large diaphragm condenser mic going to number 1, and I've got the high Z turned off, all right? And then I've got the other 3. I've got this one here in number 2, this one here in number 3, and finally the bass drum out there in front of the bass drum is in number 4. On inputs 2, 3, and 4, I have the fader set at unity gain, at 0. So it's all the way up. The master is also at 0. The first track is almost completely disabled with the fader. I've got it all the way down to like, way down here, minus whatever. I can't read it right now because it's dark back here, but it's negative whatever. It's way down. Because I get most of my gain from the millivolts that the preamp provide the microphone before it even hits this thing. So that I get a little boost, from that. That's got a transformer in it or whatever that gives me just enough millivolts here to make this mic really, sing and do its thing. So, one of the biggest problems with recording drums, bass guitar, both of those, is the peaks. And with bass drum, you get something like this, trying to control that bass drum, right? I get around that. Here's what I did with that. I used to use different mics, and I would try compression and this and that. And now I don't compress the signal on the bass drum. I just move I've got the mic all messed up here, but I move the mic out, like as much as a foot away from the drum. So you're not getting hit with that first percussive wave that makes the signal peak. So that's how I get around that. Then I think the mic pre's are a little weak on the Zoom. So they're just not nailing it that hard. But I get good bass drum tone, so I'm cool with it. These 2 microphones are overhead mics. They're not super close to the source, right? This one, you have to kind of push the level of the gain just to get it to do what this one's doing, because this one's right over the cymbals, hi-hats, the snare. So this one, you don't have to worry about it. I have no effects on number 3 and no effects on number 4. Mainly because the effects I want to use only go on 2 mics. If there was a way to do all 4, I probably would just go ahead and engage it, but there's not. And I don't want to use outboard compression. And I've gotten good results without having to do anything for the bass drum or for this overhead. Now this isn't officially an overhead because it's kind of low. It's all part of the Glenn Johns Recorder Man style. But it is an overhead in that it's elevated over the mic. It's not way down low on top of it, like on top of the source. Like this snare mic is only 3 inches away, whereas these are 2 stick lengths away. And the way you get this to not go out of phase is by making sure the distance from here, from the snare to this mic, is the same as the distance from the snare to this mic. And it is almost the same. Got to work on it a little bit. I still have not worked this part out, and that's what I'm going to be doing the rest of the evening. I just thought I'd make a quick video about these topics because I didn't cover them the last time. I'm hoping the next video I make is me doing the take and moving on to guitars. So, I am using on 2 mics, I am using effects. So we've covered the 2 mics that do not have effects. Number 4 and number 3, the bass drum and this overhead, the right overhead, if I'm sitting at the kit's orientation. For you, it's the left overhead. All right, this one my left overhead, your right overhead, is in number 2. And because I'm in, if you go to effects, turn it on, and you're going to go to dual mic. I'm just kind of rolling over to dual mic. And then I'm going to go to patch number 26, which is what's called Big Shape. And you can look inside Big Shape. Let's go to edit and take a look. Your threshold is -12, your ratio is 12, your attack is 10, the level is 58. All of that is, you know, mutable, changeable, however you want to do it. Then we have a mic pre. The type is vocal. The tone is at 6, level is 179, the low cut is at 150 hertz. We got bass a little up, mid a little up, treble a little way up. Bass and treble are boosted to 5, middle is 2. That seems like a pretty good idea. The type is doubling. And you can, like I said, you can adjust all of these levels and, you know, get it more customized for your particular desires and taste. But that is on number 1, and that is on number 2. Number 1 is this mic here, the large diaphragm condenser, and this is the one that really needs the compressor because you're right here. So it's just getting nailed. And like, I couldn't even use this mic with John, the drummer from East Orange and Spy. He destroyed this mic, and I'd have to really figure out how to mic him. I had to use a SM58 because he's so powerful. And so there's a lot of times where you can, miking and engineering drums can become a bit of a nightmare, depending on who's playing and how they play, how hard they play, or how not hard they play. So the compression is almost, it's very necessary, I think, to get a good snare tone. So I picked that one. You can pick any of these. They all have compression, you know, involved. That one is particularly compressed and limited, and it just has a good, an in-your-face tone for a snare drum. I also use it for vocals, but when I use it for vocals, I kind of roll some of the tone and some of the other EQ settings back, so it's not so, it gets a little harsh in the upper mids for vocal. But for snare, you know, that harshness in the upper mids is good. It's giving you more like in-your-face attack, as long as it doesn't start sounding weird, which it does not. It sounds like a really good solid snare tone. So, 2 mics with effects, 2 mics without. All right, and then really quickly, somewhat unrelated, but if you're recording with your Zoom, you're going to need to know how to tune your drums. And I'm not going to tune the bottom heads because I've done this recently, but I will tune the top heads because they go out, especially when the weather shifts. It gets really cold and suddenly gets really humid and kind of warm, and it gets really cold again. It's kind of like a guitar, you know, you can just notice that they are affected by weather. It's wood and metal, you know, it's contracting and constricting and this and that. All right, so a couple different ways to do this. You could do it in a pattern, like an X pattern. You go from one lug to the opposite one, or you can just skip a lug and go around the drum. I do it different ways at different times. All right, so I usually just go over here. I'll turn the batter head off so that it's more, you know, you don't hear all the snare. It's just like a dead head. And then I'm going to mute it by putting my hand in the middle, and I just tap right near the lug. And then I go across to the lug across it, or one lug over. Like, I mean, skip a lug and go to the next lug. Either way, however you want to do it. So I tap here, then the lug across. So this one sounds a little lower, so I'm just going to pitch up on this side, just kind of crank it a little bit. So I'm getting close, and I just go around and do that on the whole drum. So I'll just... And you can do this for days. I mean, I've found that this snare sounds good when you kind of keep it tuned somewhat low, and it has a muffler, a built-in muffler. So I think the snare sounds alright. I'll continue to tune it before the tape. Don't worry if it sounds off. Alright, so now the tom, same thing. So here I'd say dun 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 dun. You want to bring this back down or up, depending on which tone you want. And I'm not even getting into picking what you're going to make the notes be or whatever. That's up to you. So what I do is I just go around. Here, let's try this one. That one sounded low. These aren't very well in tune, but it's ballparked in now, so that at least each drum doesn't go bow wow wow wow, you know, while you're practicing. At home, you're probably going, wow, that's way out of tune, dude. And it probably is, but, you know, for my sandwich ears right now, it'll be okay. All right, so it's like... All right, now, bass drum is a little trickier. I'm not even going to fool with the bass drum right now. That's a whole nother endeavor, and it would take too much camera time. I usually like to take the bass drum out and really get it dialed in, and then when you're back here, you can just sort of tap on it while you put your hand in the middle, and you can just... So, we got somewhat tuned drums. Alright, so in tune well enough. Now it's time to strap the headphones back on and get back to work. The next video will be tracking this. Next time.